Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about first path humans and third path humans, uh, created by Gary Gygax specifically, defined by Gary Gygax specifically, categorized by Gary Gygax specifically, in my humble opinion. And I really apologize. This is part of a playlist, and in order for you to understand anything I say in this video, you have to watch the first two videos in this playlist. Link for the playlist is in the description below. Please watch those videos first. But if you know where I'm at now, let's go. All right, so let's talk about let's talk about first path and second path. Actually, first path and third path humans, because I've already defined second path humanity. I want to talk about first path humanity and third path humanity. So first of all, there's only been one third path human. Actually, there have been multiple. So in this century, I think there's only been one. Actually, in last century, there was only one third path human, and that was Gary Gygax. So I think third path humans are once in a millennia polymaths who come forward and catapult humanity forward on one of the axes in which it learns and grows, right? Examples of this would be Socrates, Galileo, Da Vinci, and Gygax. And so he was a third path human. So Gary didn't create third path humans, right? He did create second path humans. And basically second path humans are dungeon masters and dungeon performers, right? People who participate, people who do Dungeons and Dragons, right? Play it, run it, be it, read it, write it, all the things, right? Like own it, collect it. Like, yeah, there's so many unique ways to do Dungeons and Dragons, right? Click it together with Legos, collect it, Funko it, Yahtzee it. There's so many ways. All right, so, and those ways continue to expand all the time, which is all part of Gary's legacy. So we have this third path human, Gary, right? And he does this thing. What does he do? He brings Dungeons and Dragons forward, and he says, previously, if you were going to impact the Earth and you were going to impact all of human history, you had to have multiple organizations investing in you. You had to have the merchant class investing in you. You had to have the church investing in you. You had to have the government investing in you. Millions and millions of gold coins and euros and dollars had to be invested in you, right? But with Dungeons and Dragons, he's like, no, if you have literally $20 to buy the red box, or you have $20 to buy Essentials kit, you can have huge, broad, new ways of thinking, sensing, and feeling, right? He fundamentally created a new path for our cognition, our perception, and our expression, right? And somebody who has lived in 30 different people because of Dungeons and Dragons is just so much more capable of accomplishing things than a first path human, right? So like if you watch American professional football and you bowl, right? Like you only live in one person, right? Like you only know who you are. You don't have a dragonborn wizard in you, and you don't have a swashbuckling dwarf inside you. You haven't lived 300 years as an elf, right? Like you don't know what astral perception is. You haven't held your friend's head and spoke to them as they bleed out on the floor after a quest that you guys have been on for 6 months, right? You have a limited life, incredibly limited life. You've only experienced so much, and it's so limited, right? And you haven't lived on multiple worlds, and you haven't plane walked, right? You are limited. You can't really do much, right? Because you are only one thing, one identity. You are just one life, right? Now we get there. So if we're second path humans, dungeon masters and dungeon performers, what's our relationship to these first path humans then? It's a good question. Let's get there. All right. I'll tell you. We owe them. We owe them everything, right? We are more capable than them. We're not more valuable. We're not more valuable. A second path human is no more valuable than a first path human. We're all humans. We're all the most valuable thing in the universe, right? First path, second path, and third path. We're all of equal value, but we are not even remotely the same capability. Right? Gary Gygax was more capable than me. I'm a second path human. He was a third path human. He used his capability to do more than I ever did in my lifetime, right? And as a second path human, I'm going to do more than first path humans do, right? I've already done it, right? And then, but our value is the same. I need to take a minute to say that, okay? But because we are second path humans, and because we've been made second path humans by Gary Gygax, what do we owe first path humans? We owe them everything. We owe them more kindness. We owe them more tolerance. We owe them more patience. We need to sacrifice for them because we are going to carry humanity forward, whereas they're not going to carry humanity forward. Like what do you give me another bowl game? Like bowl 300? Like humanity's supposed to be impressed? No, right? Like it's not. It's not going to help, right? Whereas the things that Dungeons and Dragons, and Joe Manganiello talked about this at DND Direct. He's like, there are people who are living their lives through Dungeons and Dragons and directly impacting the cultures they live in tremendous ways. He openly talked about it in a D&D Direct. It was like, I'm having elevated conversations with people who have used Dungeons and Dragons to enhance their lives and enhance the communities they live in, right? The cultures they live in, the society they live in. It's profound, right? Like, so if we are capable of doing so much more, and we've been given this huge gift from Gary Gygax, it obligates us to be more kind, be more tolerant, be more patient, and frankly, be incredibly sacrificial to first path humans. To be, to give them parts of ourselves, give them parts of our wealth, give them parts of our second path largesse, right? We have this new way, we have new paths, a new path for cognition, perception, and expression, right? And we need to be sacrificial to these first path humans, right? The way Gary was sacrificial to us. Oh, you don't think Gary was sacrificial to us? Do you know how much he lost for Dungeons and Dragons? Like, I think he lost a wife for Dungeons and Dragons. I think he lost parts of himself for Dungeons and Dragons. I think he lost glory for Dungeons and Dragons. And I think he had to live a secret life to make Dungeons and Dragons what it was, which was, and never really tell anybody what he had accomplished, right? So that it could be dug out like treasure, delved from his own legacy. Truly, truly profound. So don't forget, you are second path human, okay? And that obligates you to a sacrificial life for first path humans, right? To help them, to aid them, to make their lives literally and figuratively more wealthy, right? You have been given an incredible gift by Gary. Now, make sure that you're just as generous to the path of human that preceded first path humans. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.